Yeah, can you hear me?
This is excellent. I'm glad that we're doing this so far. Uh,
You hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
All right.
You look great on TV.
Hey, I do what I can. Uh, um, Randy, thanks for joining us. Tell us about the Ridall Farm and anything else you'd like. Welcome to Creative Mornings.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the Ridall Green Partnership. This is an urban farm that has been around for 9 years in the city of Cleveland. Our claim to fame is that we came into a pocket of Cleveland that was known as the Forgotten Triangle because it was the most notorious illegal dumping zone in the entire city of Cleveland. And me and some great colleagues came together, put our resources together, and decided that it was time to take our community back and to do something constructive that would create jobs, that would create pride in where we live. Pardon me, there's a rapid transit going by. And we've done just that. On this site, we grow produce, we farm raise tilapia fish, we generate and manufacture our own compost soil. We have training classes for adults, we have training classes for students. We're in the process of building a restaurant that I'll show you from a distance, and much, much more. What I do want to say is I happen to be standing. I'm going to turn this around so you can see. This is a vantage point that shows a good portion of our farm. But I'm standing, ladies and gentlemen, at the front door of what is a tree house that we built. And I'm going to go down the stairs so you can appreciate our ability to take nature. Oh, let me turn it sideways here. And convert trees that were here and make it into a pretty cool tree house that we actually use for meetings. Whenever we have youth groups here, they love it. So you get a better vantage point now of the tree house. I'm gonna kind of go to the side here and show the tree house. So that's pretty cool, huh? Also, you see a Native American style teepee. When's the last time you've seen a teepee in the city of Cleveland, right? We believe in honoring our Native American ancestors, and this is a big hit. We actually use the teepee for meetings. We've actually rented the teepee out for nonprofits that want to have a small gathering, maybe a half-day workshop. And believe it or not, on this farm site, which this initial site that I'm showing you is just 1.3 acres, but we're on a total campus of 15 acres. We've actually hosted 5 weddings here, and the teepee is the place where the bride typically gets dressed. So pretty cool stuff. So I'm gonna pan just to show you the back of several hoop houses and greenhouses, and I wanna walk you over to, uh-oh.
You're okay.
Do that? Can you still see? Something happened.
It's okay.
Get back to Zoom. Hang in there with me. Okay, there we go. So I'm walking you to our compost station. And I'm gonna stop right here to say, if I can turn around, for the first 4 or 5 years that we were on this campus, we only worked from this first building to the west. And we had not yet gotten over to this section of the property because it was still covered with debris and trash and that kind of a thing. And what we decided to do one mild January morning was to come to this side of the building or the property and to start to clean up the debris and trash that were spread out throughout the area. And someone yelled as we started pushing and sweeping, there's a street under here. We discovered, ladies and gentlemen, that this street that's known as Fort Avenue had been covered for 30 plus years. That's right, this street was covered by trash and debris for 30 plus years. The councilwoman didn't know it was here. The development corporation in the area didn't know it was here. the city planning didn't know. We had to go and look at the archives to find this actual street. So we decided to take the space and to convert it into a composting operation. And you see the bins that we have here. This is a live compost space. That's Mark White, who's our farm manager. We call that the black gold. We typically get 30 to 40,000 pounds of food waste per week from the food bank and the food terminal. And we mix that as our nitrogen source with wood chips and leaf humus and those kinds of things that we get from many municipalities and tree companies. And we make what is extremely nutrient-rich soil that actually makes our plants sing. Whatever you put in the black gold soil, it pretty much just explodes. So we're very proud of it. We actually, you can't see it from here, but way in the distance, you might see a mound. We actually acquired another 5 acres and expanded our composting operation. So we have 2 locations, both where I am right now and across the street, that's 83rd Street. So, oh yes, I'm going to show you, we're in the bee business. We actually have a partnership with an organization at St. Herman's. I don't know if you can see the boxes there, but they are active, so I won't get much closer. But they make some of the best honey, and they said that the bees in this area on our farm have been among the most productive throughout the Northeast Ohio region. So we have how many bees?
We have 100,000 bees.
About 100,000 bees on this campus, helping to pollinate our many plants and greenery. So we really appreciate that. So I'm going to now walk us toward our structures and show you a couple of our greenhouses and hoop houses and talk a little bit more about our operations. Sorry for the bouncing around on the screen. I will say, since today's focus is nature, that I'd ask all of you on this Zoom call to remember that in urban core communities, nature is something that too many of our residents cannot enjoy. There have been a decreased number of parks and public places for people to gather. There's a major effort afoot through the city and the county to do a tree coalition that would focus on planting 360,000 trees over the next 10 years to try to get Cleveland back to being a forest city. And, all of these things we think are critically important, and we're involved in all of them. But we're now walking along the side of our first greenhouse. And this was the very first building that we built on this structure. Look at the beautiful hostas that you see here. These hostas are already well grown, right? For it to be mid-May. But you see beautiful greenery. Of all days, we would have the city trimming a tree across the street. So pardon the noise.
Elderberry.
We have elderberry,
Apricot.
bushes. We have apricot tree, cherry tree, hazelnut,
apple, peach, pear, and plum. All up and down it.
I don't know if you heard that. Apple, peach, pear, and plum. We have
raspberry bushes, blueberry, blackberry, elderberry, and raspberry.
So think about that. 4 years ago, this entire lot was empty, and we decided that it was time to plant trees to add to the natural beauty of the place. And these trees have done extraordinarily well. They bear fruit every year, and we're quite excited about that. We're going to duck into our greenhouse since the truck decided to pull right next to me, as Murphy's Law would have it. Nonetheless, welcome to greenhouse number 1, ladies and gentlemen. Quite a vivacious, lovely place. Lots of greenery. Let me back up a little bit. Yeah, that's better. You have to have a tiki bar if you're going to do this the right way, right? As you can see, we have plants for sale. And one of the highlights in this building is this where we mastered the art and science of fish farming. So Mark, our farm manager, is pulling out our tilapia fish. How about that? These are farm raised. Look at the size of those. They are absolutely wonderful. They're sweet. They're tasty. We're selling them with local restaurants. Those are probably 2.5, 3 pounds. The average is about 2 pounds. And I wanted our farm manager to give you a little bit of how we do this. We have a multi-tiered system that you can see that has plants on the top and then the water on the bottom. And this really makes the environment for fish farming work quite well. So Mark, tell them a little bit about this quickly, how this works.
This is a continuous flow system. Again, a symbiotic relationship between the plants and the fish, that as the water is pumped up top to the grow beds, bacteria and parasites are mitigated from the water. That's sending it back down cleaner and healthier than it was when it went up. So they removed all the ammonia, or the conversion of nitrites to nitrates. Okay, so it's a very excellent situation where the plants take the waste up as a fertilizer, and the fish are living off of what the plants produce. So it's a closed loop system, symbiotic relationship between the plants and the fish.
Yeah, so you see the water being pumped down, all the plants up top. Someone asked the question, is this hydroponics? Yes, it is.
Aquaponics.
But it's more so aquaponics because you're also using the water at the bottom to grow fish. So that fish waste that you see at the bottom comes down and is pumped up through this piping, and then it comes out here, and the fish waste actually becomes a supplement for the plants and provides nutrients for the plants, but it also helps to filter the water so that by the time the water comes back down into the tank, it's much cleaner, making it much more conducive for the fish. So this has been a wonderful part of our operation. We have, in this building, over about 6 or 7 years, we farm raised about 8,000 or 9,000 tilapia fish. That went so well that we partnered with local investors, and we have now spun off a separate business enterprise that is known as the Urban Fish Farm. I'm going to show you real quick across the street. We won't have time to go in there, but if you see that green building over there, the green building is actually a 7,200 square foot building with actual mega-sized fish tanks. And we're looking to grow 100 to 150,000 fish per year in that building alone. We already have restaurants that are buying from us, so it's quite exciting. But to go back into this building that we just left, there were a couple more things I wanted to highlight. When we talk about nature, this is a beautiful story. This is actually, ladies and gentlemen, an orange tree. So think about that. This is Cleveland, Ohio, and I'm saying an orange tree. This was given to us by a family who had a elderly person who had this in her home for many years. She got sick. She thought she was going to die from cancer. She took this much smaller plant to the hospital with her. You can see the orange there. Another small one there. And basically, they told her that she only had 6 months to live. She lived another 25 years, but when she passed away, the family felt so strong about this particular plant that they asked us if we would agree to adopt it and continue to care for it in honor of their grandmother, which we did, and it has grown tremendously since we've had it. It bears fruit every year. It blooms twice a year, and it's just one example of nature at its finest. You see on this side, we have, we're beginning to do our planning, so lots of various seedlings, essentially, that we'll be getting off the ground. And just the overall place is quite colorful, and I'm sure you all can appreciate that. So I think I might have 5 minutes. I don't know if you can talk to me, Tom.
Yeah, so actually, I want to jump in here, and I think that there's a little bit, you want to flip your camera back around and just talk to us from the inside the greenhouse for a second. The
Sure.
space, the actual place that you are, I think that a lot of people on this call and that might see this have seen a lot of these types of things before, but what's really remarkable is the physical place that you have put this together, and the fact that it's a business. You've said about 15 times now, we've created a business here, we've created a business here, we've created a business here. You've taken and done something. Could you tell more about that piece of finding these businesses and specifically your investment into doing this into, I don't know if I should share the map of if everyone knows where Kinsman is. And when we had spoke before, you had shared about the importance of what this resource meant to this specific area.
Yeah, I hear that question. This truck is really loud, so I'm going to walk down, and I'll show you all more of the campus as I walk. And then I'm going to answer that question. We use solar panels. You see these are hoop houses that we're just starting to plant, so you can start to see, brand new planting of seedlings that will, collards and kale. If you come back here in 2 weeks, you'll be amazed at how far they've grown, how big they've grown. So we're going to walk down to another building where it's a little more easy to hear and to have the conversation. But another hoop house that you see there. I do want to pause, not forgetting your question, Tom, to turn and show one of the highlights. Do you see this beautiful building with the wood side and the red top? That, ladies and gentlemen, will become a farmer's market / community kitchen where we will teach people how to prepare healthy foods. We will actually operate as a restaurant a couple of days a week. And we're quite excited about it. We are now putting in internal walls and everything, and it's going to be quite nice. And as you see the proximity to the fish building, we do envision having fish fries on Fridays. So we'll keep you all posted. So I will now go, and before I go into this last building, I must pay homage. There were 3 of us that co-founded the Riddall Farm. One of the 3 that was the driving force, Damien Forche, passed away suddenly about 1.5 years ago. He was the heart and soul and lived and breathed this place every single day of his life. So we are carrying his legacy forward, and we think about him every day. So I will now come in and get back to your questions. Oh, one other thing. Ladies and gentlemen, among other things, this is a set for a puppet show. We actually wanted to teach younger kids about the importance of farming and gardening. And this is a set. We have professional puppeteers, and we do puppet shows in libraries and things like that. So pretty cool stuff. Now I'll get back to the question at hand, and maybe have a seat here. So I do want to stress that this is the Forgotten Triangle, 82nd and Kinsman. This area for decades was cited as the most notorious illegal dumping zone in the city of Cleveland. This is a food desert community. For every 1 grocer that you find, there's probably 18 to 20 fast food restaurants. My dear friend Mark, our farm manager, is a 25-year plus vegan. So he and his wife are phenomenal cooks. They prepare fresh dishes to help people actually think about how to eat healthy and to not be afraid that healthy food can't taste good. So they've done something called Vegan Saturdays, where on Saturdays we would just invite people to come down, have a free meal, and they would be blown away by the fact that vegan food could taste so good, vegetarian food could taste so good. So which is partly why we decided to build the restaurant. When you're in this business, to your question, Tom, you have to be enterprising. You have to always be thinking about where the next dollars are going to come from, how you sustain your organization or your operation. So everything that we do, we always think about how will this help to sustain the farm operation. So the compost, we got licensed by the EPA to manufacture that compost, and we sell it for $35 to $50 a cubic yard. That's an income stream for us. The fish, because we were growing 7,000 or 8,000 in that one building, we had a couple of investors tell us this could really be a cash generator. You ought to think about it. We got together with them and decided to spin off an LLC so we could really go gangbusters with the whole fish operation. So now you saw we have a 7,200 square foot building strictly focused on fish. Additionally, we have training that we do for both youth and adults. We're doing a lot of training of U.S. veterans right now. We've done a lot of training of Cleveland Municipal School District students, and the list goes on and on. So we host groups, we host special events, we've hosted weddings, as I mentioned. We do public speaking. We grow and sell various types of produce, greens, cabbage, you name it, kale, that's a big seller for us. So all of these really, really make a significant difference in our ability to be versatile, to be sustainable, and has really, most importantly, I want to say to our viewers today, in my mind, the best thing about this whole farm is that it has created a sense of place. It is a place where people do come to appreciate nature. And I've had people sitting on the street in their cars eating lunch. And I walk up to them and we ask, is everything okay? And they say, oh, I hope you don't mind. This is my personal oasis. This is the one place in the neighborhood where I can go and see and appreciate green and greenery and feel like I'm a part of nature. So there's so many things I can tell you about this farm. We usually do a 90-minute tour, and I'm trying to give it all to you in 20 to 25 minutes. But sorry for the long-winded message or response time. I just wanted to make sure I got the bulk of your question covered.
Well, I asked you 3 different things all at once because I wanted you to get to make sure that you could share this really important piece of, because the context of where you're growing fish in the way that you are and the way that it's really, really important. How would you say that this compares to other farms like this? How are there many other places like yours that you can find in other areas?
I think because we've been at this for 9+ years, we've had the privilege of hosting people, training people from all over the country. We actually have traveled to Belize. We actually have a partner in Belize that has a Ritol farm operation there. We have contacts in Ghana and Israel. I mean, we really want to take this thing global. I guess there's so many, specifically, how can I answer that question, Tom?
What I was trying to lead you in, it was exactly where you're answering, that there's people that are coming to you as this is a model for within this neighborhood in other places. And I was hoping that you'd share.
Yes, there are many urban farms throughout the country. And many of them are very similar. Many are growing great produce. Many are making compost. But I think we're very unique in that we are doing so many different things. In our travels, we have not run into any organization that is doing all the things that we're doing. They may do farm-raised fish, but they aren't also doing an actual garden or growing. They may do growing of produce, but they're not an EPA licensed compost facility. They may do compost, but they're not actually providing a 5-month urban agricultural training program that provides a certificate, by the way, as well as hosting over 4,000 visitors annually. So, I mean, when you add it all up, we really are a unique organization, and we have 100 more ideas about ways to expand. I started to talk about the tree issue earlier. We acquired another 5 acres, which took us to 15 acres total just down the street. And one of the things we want to do there is start not only a tree nursery, but also a tree distribution facility for those that want to plant trees as a part of the tree movement of Cleveland and Cuyahoga County. They could come to us and take a quick class and buy our compost soil and be on their merry way. And we're partnering with the Western Reserve Land Conservancy to make that happen. So yet another feather in our cap, or another cog in the wheel, if you will, that shows that we're really going at this environmental piece in every way imaginable and seeing some pretty impressive results. I do want to thank, I saw someone put greenandghetto.org. The website does highlight all of this and more. I didn't even get into the fact that Mark, our farm manager, has come up with a juice line that has 6 different juices that we're trying to take to the marketplace. They include 72 trace minerals and all sorts of vitamins. He uses very natural products like, you can say it, Mark, moringa. I don't know if you know about the moringa tree. Soursop, sea moss, turmeric, lemongrass, all these kinds of things. And we really want to spin that off as yet another money-making enterprise. But more importantly, these things help to boost immune systems. And we know that right now, dealing with COVID, that people of color are more susceptible to these kinds of illnesses. So we call Mark the urban farm doctor, because he's providing so much. Not only does he provide the juices, but he also is writing blogs and columns and various pieces for people to sort of take with them to reflect on health and healthy eating and the benefits of it. I see lots of notes coming up. I don't know if you address these now, Tom, or if we need to go back, and someone just said something about tell Mark, but I couldn't read the rest.
Yeah, so I'm going to stop you here for just a sec. We're going to, does anyone have, the plan for this morning was originally to take everyone to the farm, and
yes.
We couldn't, even though we've had the circumstance that we're in, we still wanted to share the farm with you. And so that's why we're doing this in this way. We don't have a lot of, there's going to be questions. If anyone has any questions, put them in the chat. And Randy, I'm going to read some things off to you. If you could answer a few things with brevity, we'll try to get a few questions in before we have to sign off in about 10 minutes here. So the first question that we have is, do you ever, this is from Bellamy, do you ever worry that you are doing too much? Do you think one activity will supersede another?
The short answer is we always feel like we're doing too much, but at the same time, we feel like we're not doing nearly enough. We do have a pretty robust team of community volunteers and staff. And what we have learned is that one thing builds on the other. So you can't really talk about growing healthy produce if you're not figuring out how to do compost. And you can't sustain an organization like this if you don't figure out ways to generate significant income, which is why we do things like develop the fish and develop other products that we could sell. We hire professional puppeteers to do the puppet show for us. We call it the Red-All Green Partnership because we do partner as much as possible with as many organizations as we can so that we're not doing everything. But it's a fair question. But in the being a recovering nonprofit executive director myself, I know you have to pursue every possible resource that you can find to make the kind of impact and to sustain yourself. So far it's worked for us, but it's a fair question.
How do you balance your enterprising work here with your role at RPM?
Funny you would ask that question. My boss at RPM called me this morning at 7:15 and asked me if I had a few minutes to chat. And he's chairing the Economic Recovery Task Force for Governor DeWine. And he wanted to have a conversation about economic development ideas. And he said, Randy, you're one of the most enterprising guys I know. And thinking about what you've done with the farm and thinking about what you've done with some other initiatives. And I was able to actually give him a small business perspective on what the governor ought to think about as it relates to economic recovery, because we haven't been as supportive of small businesses as we could be and need to be if we want to see the state's recovery happen. So because I'm Vice President of Public Affairs, I am definitely known for being out and about in the community. I think that everything that I do adds value, not only for our company, but adds value back to the community, which is the goodwill that we as a responsible corporate citizen can only hope for. I do count myself blessed to work for a company like RPM that gets it, that says, Randy, you know, you're doing important work and we ought to support you. They have actually supported Ritall and other initiatives that I've been involved with. So it works out. I don't sleep much, but other than that, you know, it works out.
That's really cool. Okay. We need trees desperately. Thanks for addressing the issue.
Yes. Do you know, if I could take 15 seconds?
Yeah,
One of the reasons we need,
go ahead.
One of the reasons we need trees is because there's a real disparity issue. There's lots of research that shows that trees really impact quality of life. And in urban core communities where there's less trees, and that is the case in Cleveland, you suffer from what they call a heat island effect. Because there's less trees and more concrete and more asphalt, the temperatures in the summer months in those neighborhoods are 10 to 15 degrees hotter than they would be in the comforts of many of our suburban neighborhoods, which leads to asthma and aggravates a lot of other illnesses that urban residents have to wrestle with. So it not only is aesthetically pleasing to have more trees, but there really is some value for the quality of life for our citizens.
You had said when we met up a few months ago now that the life expectancy in the inner city neighborhoods where this farm is significantly lower than other areas, and that a lot of the work that you're doing in health is addressing that. Do you want to talk about that for a moment?
Sure. There have been many studies in many cities that speak to that. There was a study done a few years ago in Cleveland comparing Huff neighborhood residents to Lyndhurst residents, and that showed a 24-year life expectancy difference. 7 miles distance, 24 years difference in life expectancy. So that says a lot. I think we now maybe get it better today than we did a few years ago, now that we're all understanding underlying conditions and what that means. What that says to me is that there are underlying conditions in places like Huff and too many neighborhoods like the one we're in right here in Lower Kinsman. And we have to figure out ways to help people to improve opportunities and lengthen their life or their lives. And when you think about diabetes, heart disease, obesity, a lot of those can be controlled by diet and lifestyle. So that's what Mark and others typically hammer away when we have our classes, to say to people, hey, this doesn't have to be your life, but you do have to change the way you eat. And then when we show them that eating healthy can actually taste good and isn't as difficult to do or to prepare. Mark's wife is a master chef, so she makes us all want to be vegan because she's just amazing. But it really makes a difference, and people come to us and months later, years later, to say, hey, I really changed the way I ate. My blood pressure is down. I feel better. I lost weight. And there's no more fulfilling thing than to have that kind of a thing happen.
Randy, thanks for the time. Again, so the farm is open. People can go out there. You've got some social distancing measures that are in place, but if people would like to get out to the area and stop and see the farm, they're able to, correct?
I think we're going to resume our formal tours probably June 1.
Okay.
We're slowly sort of working our way back in, trying to respect the all the social distancing and COVID-19 challenges. But we, as Tom said, and Tom, you all would be proud of Tom. He really had a big vision for how this was going to be so wonderful to have you all here and how we were going to walk you around and what we wanted to do. But we couldn't do it right now, but I'm glad we were able to at least do it virtually to whet your appetite. So hopefully many of you will want to come back and see it firsthand. And we're more than happy to do it. Maybe a large group at a later date would be fantastic, but we don't frown upon having individuals or smaller groups come, and I would say to reach out to me anytime around June 1 or later, and I'll work with Mark and we'll coordinate those tours. And yes, we do need volunteers. We always need volunteers. I've seen that word pop up many times. Thank you all so much for thinking about that, because it's a wonderful way to help us. So we will continue to look for those names as well.
Our website for volunteer opportunities.
Yeah, you can go to our website and actually sign up for volunteer opportunities.
I'll drop your website. Everybody's on the meeting today. I'll get an email and with links to all of the projects, to everything that everybody that was shared today. And thank you. We've got a moment here. What I've found is that it's sort of difficult to let go. The meeting is over officially right now, so I'll see everyone later. I am going to drop you into breakout rooms that are bigger right now. If you'd like to stay and chat with some people who are around in the neighborhood and have some time, you're welcome to do that. If you don't want to, then we'll see you next time. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for having us. We appreciate it. Take good care, everyone. Hope to see you soon. Stay safe.